you come out feeling better because it ignites hope inside of us. And without hope, nothing will happen. When we lose hope is the day that we die, even if it's not a physical death, but something inside of us dies. It's hope that keeps people alive after the earthquake and being buried under the rubbles for 10, 20, even longer hours. It's hope that make us endure during a hardship and pain because we hope for a better day. We hope for less pain. We hope for more joy. We hope for better resolutions. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Soulful Intuitive. Today, we are going to talk about believing in something bigger than us. And the reason why this topic is going to be discussed today is because all of us go through a lot of troubles in the course of our lifetime. And usually, when things get tough, we need to have a way of seeing outside of our troubles and believing that somehow we will find ourselves out of our troubles and somehow things will get better. The reason why I want to discuss this today is because a few days ago, I had a client and her and her husband have been in and out of the hospital because one of their children is sick. And she just told me that even though she's not religious, she found herself going to the chapel and just thinking about her child and what she wants to happen in terms of the child's health and the status of the disease and the outcome. And she had to emphasize that she's not religious. However, it made her feel a lot better every time she went to the chapel and she sat there alone and stepped outside of the reality that she was living in, which was the hospital and the doctors and the possible outcomes that were not very desirable. And fortunately, things are going to improve, and the fact that we all have that inner knowing, we all have that wisdom, we all have that software inside of us that makes us look up and out when we need help. And people become very uncomfortable with this topic because they want to put it in the same box as religions, and almost everybody has baggage with religious thoughts and religious dogmas and growing up a certain way in religious households or having family and friends who are religious and make them feel less of or are being treated in a very unfair way, even though religions emphasize on being friendly and accepting everyone. Unfortunately, a lot of people who mean well, and they're trying to bring people into their group because they really believe that that's the only way to salvation, treat people outside of that group and outside of that box sometimes unfairly. But we're not talking about religion. We are talking about the fact that we all need to have an outlet. We all need to have a way in order for us to get bigger than us, to think bigger than us, to step out of our very humanly mind that can't see outside of trouble sometimes, because that's just part of being human. We get caught up in troubles and we get caught up in our problems, and we lose imagination and we feel helpless. We feel self-pity. We feel like this is the end of the world. And it's very important to know that, like, that drawing in, that having that quiet time on your own, either in your room or in a chapel or wherever you want to call a place of meditation or a place of contemplation. We don't need names. We just need a state of mind. And this beautiful lady, in the most genuine way, described what happens when we're desperate, or when we are losing faith in a certain outcome, and when we don't really know what's going to happen, that we're afraid. And fear is usually a common denominator of those feelings when we're afraid of our own survival, when we have financial issues and we're afraid of losing our home or our car or our job or our house or our children or other possessions, or just being threatened, not feeling strong enough to go through something. And I just find that for my own experience, and I always bring my own experience in my discussions because that's the most authentic. It's nice to bring in other examples as well. However, the most accurate one is what I have gone through, and then the examples that I give are usually what I understand from what people tell me. So, growing up and going through my early 20s and mid 20s and early 30s, I had to go through a lot of periods where I just did not see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I also didn't really feel like I wanted to go discuss it and ask others to give me false hope, because if I don't know, how the hell are they going to know? But I had a notebook, and which I would write down exactly what I wanted to happen. And I had to take public transit for a while, and it would take like 15 minutes from this side of the water to the other side of the water, like a water taxi. Actually, it's called Sea Bus, but it's a form of public transportation here. And I would just sit there and I write down what I wanted to happen. For example, I was starting my career as a hairstylist, and I wanted to have a full day of clients. And when you're starting off as a new hairstylist, you don't have a lot of clients, and most places hire you on either hourly or commission. And if you're commission and you don't have clients, you basically have spent like 7 or 8 hours a day at your place of work, and you haven't made any money. So I wanted to get busy. I wanted to have good encounters. I wanted my day to go smoothly. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to learn. I wanted to have good encounters with my coworkers, and so on and so forth. And that's just the career aspect of my life. There were so many other aspects that also seemed bleak and scary at times. And I would just write down things, and I just would think about them, and I would close my eyes and I would ask the universe. And I use the term universe because it works for me, and it's worked for me for many years because it doesn't have any negative connotation to it. And some people have their own terms, and as long as the what you're putting your thoughts to and what you're asking what you're asking for help from is this bigger wisdom, this bigger entity, is this bigger knowing, this bigger universe, just something outside of us that we believe in, that create, destroys, and put things back together again. And that has worked. It has worked for me. It has worked for millions and millions of people. As a matter of fact, when you're going through a 12-step program, and you don't have to be religious, you just have to believe in something bigger than you and something larger than you, because there are going to be times that you need that strength, and you need to tap into that energy and tap into that power, because sometimes you don't have that much power on your own, because addiction can be very persuasive, and addiction can be very manipulative, and addiction can strip you of your own personal power. But when you bring in that power outside of you and invite it into your life, then the chances of your survival, the chances of your success is much higher. So that's that was a good reminder when I was talking to my client, that everybody I'm not saying every single person, but most people, when they go through something tough, they instinctively just tap into that power, and they ask for help, and they ask for guidance, they ask for strength, because um, this power outside of us is not some cosmic slot machine where we can just keep asking for things, but we can ask for strength, we can ask for wisdom, we can ask for direction, we can ask for um, more power when we're going through situations that we know as humans we don't have what it takes in order to do it by ourselves. And sometimes after asking, people come our way and help us through, or miraculous things happen. We run into solutions that maybe we never thought of. We go to bed and we wake up, and all of a sudden we have a different view. We try a different approach, or sometimes we just become stronger and we don't like feel as fragile as we did beforehand. And if you, even from the psychological perspective, if you want to think about it, when you are going through your issues and when you think about it and you focus on it and you give a possibility of hope, when you consider a choice where things turn out the way you want them to turn out, or at least close to what you want it to turn out, that just gives you good energy. Your hormones, your happy hormones start secreting in your bodies, and you no longer feel defeated. You no longer feel depressed. You no longer feel super shaky and scared. And that's just one way of looking at it. Because after having that one-on-one with you and your higher self, or with you and the universe, or with you and your God, or with you and your gods, like, I don't know, for different people have different approaches, different names, but you come out feeling better because it ignites hope inside of us. And without hope, nothing will happen. When we lose hope is the day that we die, even if it's not a physical death, but something inside of us dies. It's hope that keeps people alive after the earthquake and being buried under the rubble for 10, 20, even longer hours. It's hope that make us endure during a hardship and pain, because we hope for a better day. We hope for less pain. We hope for more joy. We hope for better resolutions. And that's what that is. You want to call it prayer. You want to call it connecting. You want to call it meditation. You want to call it asking. You want to call it just being. But it's important. It's a tool in our toolbox that we can use, and actually successful people use it all the time in order to get through bumpy parts of our life journey. And I certainly do it, and sometimes I forget to do it because I'm so caught up with what's going on that it makes me breathe slower, and it makes me just becoming this weaker version of myself that is cut off from hope, is cut off from wisdom. And I have to remind myself that, no, I know how to do this. I have done this before. And I remind my friends sometimes when they go through something tough that this is a tool in our toolbox that we've used for thousands of years, and it's proven to work. So and sometimes people just go to nature, because if nature is not a pretty beautiful, accurate representation of this higher power, I don't know what is, you know. Some people look up the sky at night and they see all those stars, and the majesty of it makes them believe in something bigger than themselves. And sometimes people just go take a walk in the woods and look at the variety of plants and trees and vegetation and animals, and how everything works in harmony, and that like wisdom that makes it all work. And that makes you feel like you're part of something, something intelligent, you're part of something majestical, you're part of something powerful. And then you can tap into that power and bring that power in your life when you have lost power or when your power is threatened and what you know as life seems dark and gloomy. So I'm going to leave you guys with that little bit of thought that maybe we can practice on our own on a daily, and we don't have to wait until things get tough in order to tap into it, because it is a good place to be, to just be connected to this enormous energy, to this enormous wisdom, and be part of it, and even be an ambassador of that energy and introduce it to people who maybe aren't used to going there, and also reminding our friends who have faith and religions, because just because you have you have a religious belief doesn't mean that you have found that power, because a lot of people read the books but they don't really go to that place, and just tell them that, you know, maybe it's not the words, maybe it's not the book, but maybe it's the place. Maybe it's a mental place, maybe it's a place in your heart, maybe it's that place of knowing that doesn't necessarily come from preachers and podiums and books, but it comes from becoming one with it. And it's a place to go easier when we're going through a tough time, because our ego quiets down when we feel little, because usually when we are on top of the mountain, our ego is big, and it's maybe sometimes hard to quiet that voice down. But when we are threatened, when we are going through a rough time, sometimes our ego shuts up, and that makes it easier to access that field of energy, that field of knowing. Thank you very much for being with me today, and I will talk to you very soon, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.